House of the Dragon did some really great things, and when compared to the writing of Game of Thrones' later seasons, I'd argue overall it's much better. But there are, and were, a handful of moments that did raise a few eyebrows that felt out of place and brought back memories of what Game of Thrones became, with the Benioff and Wise tactic of style over substance, choosing spectacle over good writing that makes sense and had true substance to it. It seems that on the whole, House of the Dragon did learn from these mistakes, but there still were a small handful of moments which slipped back into this logic. There was one that caught the ire of many fans, even casual fans, for the lack of sense it made in terms of plot and characters, by needlessly changing a scene from the book to add more spectacle and action, which wasn't really needed. I am of course talking about the now infamous Dragon Pit scene. In brief, during Aegon's coronation in the Dragon Pit, Princess Rhaenys, atop her dragon Meleys, burst through the floor of the Dragon Pit in the middle of the small folk who had gathered to watch the coronation of Aegon, with Rhaenys and Meleys then having a standoff with almost the whole cast of the Green Council before turning around and flying away. Now, I'm not going to sit here and argue that this scene isn't bad, and perhaps is the worst in the season, but what I am going to try and do is piece together why the writers may have chosen this ill-advised option, and how we will see some evidence of this logic in Season 2 and beyond. I can understand what the good intent of this decision was, but it resulted in ultimately some sloppy writing. The main issues that have been flagged with this scene, for me, can be broken down into 3 key areas. The most obvious being that as Rhaenys breaks through the floor of the Dragon Pit, killing countless members of the small folk, she had the chance to kill almost the entire Green faction in a blast of dragon flame, ending the Dance of the Dragons before the war is even truly started. It is truly a glaring issue with the scene. It really does not make sense. However, there is some caveats to this. In the lore of A Song of Ice and Fire, kinslaying is a huge deal, so Rhaenys killing half of her extended family would be an absolutely massive and horrendous crime in a moral sense. That's why Aemond killing Lucerys is such a huge deal. Not that it's just first blood in a war, but the kinslaying element of it. And that's just killing one person. I think perhaps it was the intent of the writers for the audience to learn a lot about the kind of character Rhaenys is by her choosing not to kill Alicent and her children. We learn she has a sense of morality and wouldn't stoop so low to be a kinslayer. The trouble is, due to the scene being ridiculous, it takes away and prevents the audience from really being able to see it like that. But that leads into a side element of this. Rhaenys' actions directly result in the deaths of countless small folk who are simply watching the coronation of who they are being told is the rightful king. Thus, any sense of Rhaenys being a moral character that they're hoping to achieve by her not killing the Greens is cancelled out and obscured by her disregard for the lives of those below her, the small folk. I remember a lot of fans pointed out in my review of the episode how stupid the idea of Rhaenys even going to the Dragon Pit is in the first place. The running theme of the comments was if you just escape captivity, stealthily or not, the one place you are not going to want to be going is a highly guarded place on alert, such as the Dragon Pit, during an event such as a coronation of your direct rivals. Even if Rhaenys ended up going there against her will, surely it should be madness to try and break into the dragon stables. It would make sense for her to try and blend in and hide. With all those people there, surely the dragon would be guarded as well, to prevent a situation like this from even happening. Or, for example, a member of the small folk simply wandering down this unguarded cavern system and getting killed by dragons. But nope, the entrance to the dragons is utterly unguarded, allowing Rhaenys free access to Meleys. So not only is the whole idea poorly conceived at best, the entire sequence of events needed for it to happen is also incredibly flawed. Now, leaving the writing aside for one moment, again, looking back at the comments of my review, what a lot of fans rightly pointed out is that this badly written, contrived version of Aegon's coronation replaced an already great version of it from Fire and Blood, a scene that in a green-centric episode had Aegon at the heart of it. To be honest, the Green Council episode was my least favourite. For a part of Fire and Blood like the Green Council and Aegon's coronation that had so much potential, what we got was ultimately disappointing. Criston Cole is known in history as the Kingmaker for this huge role he plays in convincing Aegon to take the crown. There's a reason Cole was the one who crowned him. His whole role as the Kingmaker was really minimised through the whole episode. Rather than follow the books, they created a new version with the intent of adding spectacle, which in itself I think is a poor excuse, as the scene as it is in Fire and Blood was already full of it. Aegon and Helena's dragon ride around King's Landing to the cheering crowds could have been that moment, and also worked to show how the small folk of King's Landing, for now at least, support their new king. It would have been a great chance to properly introduce Sunfire, who is supposed to be the most beautiful dragon that ever lived. It could have been a truly memorable moment. So, even if the scene we got did make sense and was executed well, I know there would still be a huge chunk of fans lamenting the loss of the book version. Don't get me wrong, in interviews the writers clearly have stated that what they were going for was the idea of spectacle and a cool moment. And ultimately those interviews came back to bite them when fans rejected their interpretation. There is a little bit more to it than just spectacle and a cool moment. Things at the core of the idea that you get distracted from because of it. There are things to come in future seasons that when you consider, perhaps make the choice to go down the road they did, make a little bit more sense. I think that yes, they wanted a cool moment, but they were also trying to build up and set up future events to come. Namely, that Rhaenys and the Lords en masse utter disregard to the lives of the small folk, as shown by the many who died through Rhaenys' actions with no care at all. I think they will use this incident to help fuel the mood of madness and attack of the dragon pit that results in the death of the dragons and basically cripples House Targaryen until Robert's rebellion. And I suspect this event with Rhaenys bursting through the floor of the dragon pit will be cited as one of the reasons that has led to the amount of disgruntlement needed by the small folk to try and attack the dragon pit. I also suspect they were trying to set up the aftermath of the Battle of Rook's Rest, when Meleys' head is paraded through King's Landing to the cheers of the small folk, with Rhaenys and Meleys being the main cause of the deaths of countless small folk during Aegon's coronation. The small folk reacting to the deaths in this way kinda makes sense. We know the intent was to create a cool spectacle, but that does not mean they were not also trying to set up future events with it. So when you look at it from that point of view, the scene as a whole does start to make more sense. But the underlying issue is the scene itself that allows for the setting up of these future events was so badly handled, it takes away from any good intentions in terms of the future from it. Despite the end goal of setting up the later seasons, the misjudgment of the scene really damages any of the other well-intentioned elements.